Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new around here, my name is Nicole and I am very late on posting this garden update because I almost didn't do it. In the last 17 days, or really starting at about a week before that, life has been interesting at my house and my garden has kind of gone bad. So have most of my flowers. Between the 100-degree weather that we've had and the fact that my husband was trying to pass a 7-millimeter kidney stone, and it just hasn't been real conducive to a lot of stuff around here. It's been a little bit of a trying summer, so I wasn't gonna do this video, but I wanted. So bear with me. I'm gonna do it really quick. We're going to ignore the fact that weeds have taken over and things have died because they don't like 100-degree weather, and I really just want this for my records. So join me on this real quick garden tour. And yeah, it's bad. So I did not get my big camera out. We're doing my phone. This is what you get. My mom here was looking beautiful. And then through a long chain of events, we decided we needed to reside this part of our house because we're going to actually be building onto our house, and we had to move the air conditioner because it's on the side of the house that's getting built onto. So to move the air conditioner, we put it right there, as you can see. And by putting it right there, we had to reside this part of the house so that we weren't having to try and put siding on behind the air conditioner. But in the meantime, I threw my hip out last month and finally am back to walking. And then last month, as in June, because I guess we're halfway through August now. In July, beginning of July, my husband passed a small kidney stone, and at the end of July, we wound up in the emergency room with a 7-millimeter kidney stone. So life's been throwing a lot of curveballs. Anyway, residing the side of the house has caused us to trample my poor mums. This one actually looks better than one of the other ones. I had to cut down my hibiscus here. It was actually probably 5.5, 6 feet tall, but my husband asked me to cut it all down so that we weren't trampling on it, trying to put the siding on the house. And as you can tell, it's already growing back. This is my other mum that looked so beautiful, and it has had so much crap just dropped on it. Like, it's so sad. Will it come back next year? I don't even know the answer. My other hibiscus right there behind the chairs, again, it is coming back. It's not doing as well as the other one, but as you can tell, it's kind of hidden by chairs, so it doesn't get the sunlight like the other one. We're still missing siding because, you know, when you're in the emergency room with a 7-millimeter kidney stone, if you don't know how big that is, it's a little bigger than 1/4 of an inch that you're trying to pass. So anyway, this dude right here is surviving. Like, he's had a couple of things dropped on him, and I accidentally set a ladder on a portion right back here, but otherwise that dude still looks beautiful. This one, on the other hand, had so much old siding and plywood, and it's not even funny, dropped on it that, yeah. I also had to cut down this hibiscus. Again, it's coming back better than the one hidden by the chair. Obvious reasons, it gets more sunlight. This mum here, it decided to bloom like middle of June, I think. I have pictures of it. It may have even made last month's garden update. So that's exciting. In my box here, or in my flower pot, my zinnias are just going crazy. And I guess over the weekend we had enough rain for flash flooding, and about 25 or 30 miles from here it totally wiped out a campground. We got so much rain. I heard it rained Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. We weren't home, therefore I don't know, but I can tell you that these are the mini elephant ears, and they're doing well. Actually, there's a pile back over yonder that had some also, and they were growing until somebody sat something on them. But these got watered really well, and so my zinnias are doing really well. There's what came off the side of my house. It is a hideous mess at my house right now. I did come through and weed eat all day yesterday, and then I mowed the lawn. But my rose bush we've had to trim back on it just a little bit because of, obviously, we had to pull some of the siding off. And so it's just doing so. That and the heat has just taken a toll. I got this all weed eated. I accidentally hit one of those, or a bunch of those, with the weed eater, and they've been sitting out in the sun for so long that they just kind of like disintegrate when the weed eater hits them. You can't really see my sidewalk, but it is there. Now that I have this trimmed down, I'm going to come back in with weed killer and just try to kill the weeds. I don't know if it'll happen or not. We'll just take it as it comes. There is the massive Arctic Fire dogwood. When we go to reside the front of the house, I don't even want to begin to know what's going to happen to that poor guy. So I have a mum back there. It's not doing real well, as you can tell, and I don't know what its problem is. It has not had things dropped on it. It's maybe just the Arctic Fire dogwood or the grasshoppers, because it's August and grasshoppers are mean. You can see everything here has died. My lilac or lavender bush tree, whatever that is, lavender I guess, dead. That flower pot, dead. These are actually starting to put on new buds here in the bed of the truck. They're portulacas. So then we have some coneflowers. I had coneflowers planted in one of these pots last year. And so I guess when they died off last year, they just seeded themselves right here in the ground. So we have some coneflowers here. This is the Gomphrena. The Gomphrena was actually planted in that last year, and it has now planted itself right here and right here. So it's kind of cool and exciting. That died. Here is my original mum. He is huge. He always is. He's missing some, I don't know why I'm calling it a he. Maybe it's a she. I don't know. Anyway, it's missing some leaves, and I have a feeling the grasshoppers have something to say about that. But this thing is freaking ginormous. If I had a tripod, I would put it back here and kind of like stand next to it or something to show you just how big it is, because it's huge. Those died. I think those were bachelor's buttons, but they didn't make it. So this was a cockscomb, and again, it was planted. There's one here and one there, and they were planted in pots last year, and I believe they are just an annual. They were planted in pots last year, and somehow they made it this far. Those pots may have been right in here, and so they seeded themselves. The marigold isn't doing as well as it had been, but it seems like they're not really heat tolerant. I don't know. All the marigolds that I have that have been in the heat are just gone. That almost looks like a hayfield. The weeds were so bad that I felt so bad for the delivery guys for having to deliver stuff to our front porch. That mum is doing really well. There's also some of the nasturtiums right there, as you can see. They never flowered. They just have stayed like that. Nasturtiums tend to be kind of a cooler weather, but it's never done anything. But it also hasn't died. So, I don't know. We'll call it a win, I guess. This rose bush, it kind of waxes and wanes. It does really well, then it does bad. Then it does well, then it does bad. We're kind of coming back from the bad. There's flowers right up here that you can see that are coming. And there's my husband off in the distance. I have to trim all that down, because that's where the addition to our house is going. So that'll be fun. So let's talk about this bed right now. That tree, I've planted 2 cherry trees and then now an apple tree in the same spot. This year I fertilized it really well, I fed it really well, and it's still just going kaput. So I don't think I'm going to be able to grow trees right there. I have some weeds that I need to come in and get, and I do have a mum coming back that was planted from all my freebie, they weren't free, but cheap mums from last year. I kind of almost sort of hit it with the lawnmower, but not really yesterday because I mowed all this. Now, I had mulch planted, and you can kind of see where my mulch bed was. This was flowers, that was flowers, but they were all pretty much dead. And you can kind of see where the mulch was. I need to do a better job, I guess, obviously. That was planted from a bulb, and there's a bunch of bulbs planted in here. So I think if I do some work this fall, maybe plant a few more bulbs, because, hey, why not? We should have some really good flowers come up, hopefully next spring. That was supposed to be a bearded lady iris. All I ever got were leaves. So, This bed over here was in a little bit of a different shape. Both of them were triangles, but they were different. But they have the exact same things planted in them. Again, I've got a couple bearded lady irises that all I ever got were leaves. And the leaves never went away. I never got the flowers, just some leaves. And then I have one mum right here. Now, I bet my neighbor was really glad that I came through and mowed both of these because they looked horrible. They had weeds probably my knee height or more. But it was one of those I really felt like I should come in and pick them by hand. And I just never got to it because when you're in the full sun and it's 100 and whatever degrees, sometimes you just don't feel like it. Sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't. I think I'll probably come back in with some mulch, maybe even, I don't know, try and do a little bit better job, and for sure plant some more bulbs. I saw some at Sam's yesterday and I almost bought them because, you get so many, but then I didn't. So I guess that's another trip to Sam's. So my neighbor went by on a buggy type thing. And my dog saw me and then saw him, so now he's going crazy. Okay, so there's my wheelbarrow. As you can tell, the weeds have taken over, and the 2 or 3 mums that I did have coming back, they are kaput. They're gone. They aren't coming back this year anyway. I need to add more soil to the wheelbarrow before I try to plant any more plants. The sun has just been brutal this summer. There's no other word to use to describe it. Now I did plant some rhubarb here, and rhubarb is supposed to be a perennial. Will it come back? I have absolutely no idea. I kind of am gonna guess no, but I might be surprised. It is what it is. I don't even know if I like rhubarb. I just bought some and planted it, honestly. I got in here and I picked my garlic too late. I did have this bed all cleared out of weeds and everything, and the weeds have taken back over. But My husband and I have been discussing this because it seems like all I do is fight weeds. Fight weeds to the point I'm tired of coming out here. I just can't handle it. I can, but I just don't want to. When it's 100 degrees outside, you don't want to be sweating your butt off pulling weeds when they look like grass, when it looks like your yard. So we are going to redo this whole garden. We're going to come in, we're going to pull up all of my timbers. I don't know if we're going to put them back in or if we're going to go another route. We're going to build them up a little taller so that I don't feel like I am breaking my back trying to pull things and garden, because it's just what we've been talking about. I'm not sure. We've talked about going back with wood. We've talked about going back with metal containers. We're not going to make them as long. Right now, all of my beds are, this one is 4x16 and all the rest of them. So the short bed are 2x16 and the short bed is a 4x8. We are going to make them all shorter. So I'm not going to have 16-foot beds. I'm going to only have about 8-foot beds. And we're going to try and get really good soil in here. So this may be a multi-year project, because I don't want to invest I could drop a crap ton of money really fast trying to put soil and everything else in. We're not going to do that. We're going to try and redo this and start out right, because honestly, when I started this the first time, I had just tilled up my yard and I planted it as fast as I could because I was kind of running behind. And so I got to fight weeds that first year. The next year we came in and I actually did put landscaping fabric down between each bed, and I still have weeds galore. There wasn't anything in the beds, obviously. It was just whatever was down below, and then we added more soil. But between the beds, I actually have landscaping fabric, and it didn't do its job. Like, it was supposed to be 30-year weed barrier. I call baloney. So that is where the asparagus is. I don't know if it will come back again. Who knows? I did not get my watering system put up this year. So that might be the breaker on actually if any of this works again next year or not. This is onions, because they say that onions plant really well with peppers, and it kind of helps both of them out. So I never did pick the onions. They're just sitting there. And the peppers, as you can see, they have flowers, but they've not actually put on any peppers. They're just flowers. So I don't even know. I don't know. I did get some peppers in another bed, but this one has flowers like it should put on peppers, and it just never has. Again, that is a pepper. That's a habanero. I believe these are sweet Thai chili, and nothing out of any of them. So unfortunately, this has just not been my year. I mowed yesterday, and I need to come in and I need to weed eat in here again, because the weeds are the only thing that grow. Oh my goodness, I almost fell. The weeds are the only thing that tend to grow when it's hot. And they grow where you don't want them to. So these are tomatoes. Most of my tomatoes either look like that, or they have blossom end rot. They have blossom end rot on the bottoms, or they've split open. So it is a watering issue, and it's my fault. So I have harvested, I have tomatoes that look like that. I've been pulling them and feeding them to the chickens. Chickens like them. So at least all my hard work isn't totally going to waste. The chickens are benefiting. I have had one good harvest of tomatoes, and that's it. I made some pizza sauce out of it. I have a pepper there. It turned orange. I don't know if it's supposed to be orange or not. I have weeds galore. This bed does not seem to have just a bunch of peppers. The other pepper bed actually put on some peppers. This one's not. Strawberries, I don't have high hopes for. When we come to this set of tomatoes, I have a lot of tomatoes that I need to pick, but I also have a lot that are just going to go and feed the chickens. And then I, oddly enough, have that flower. I don't even know what it is, where it came from, or why it's there. It's not something that I planted. This was a bed of peppers, and this is the one that actually had some, but they were jalapenos that I found earlier this morning with the help of my little one, and they were red and they were hard. So we fed them to the chickens, and I don't think the chickens appreciated that. So this morning we came in. This was all marigolds. They're gone. I pulled he was loud. I pulled the Rosella tomato out of that one. I do still have some little Rosella tomatoes here that need to be picked, but I mean, they're so small that I may just pull the whole plant and feed it to the chickens. I haven't decided yet. This is potatoes, if you can find the bed. And that is potatoes, again, if you can find the bed. And I did not hardly dig up any potatoes. I dug up a few. Actually, I think my mother-in-law picked them. And I wound up having to feed them to the chickens because they weren't good. So that's kind of year I've been having. I had a Rosella tomato there. I pulled it this morning and fed it to the chickens. They were happy. You can probably maybe hear the chickens and the ducks in the background. So you see there's one T-post over here and not over there. And I did actually have tomatoes here hanging from the T-posts. We had cows get out. That's also been fun this summer. And we had to go and fix fence where they got out. And a tree had fallen on the fence. And they needed a 5-foot fence post, which these really needed to be the 7-foot fence posts anyway. And so I pulled the bar. You can see the bar is laying here. I pulled the bar off and I gave them one of my 5-foot fence posts so that they could fix fence for the cows, and meant to come back and put up one of the 7-foot, but then I couldn't figure out how to make it work because my strings that my tomatoes were actually hanging on weren't made for that, and it was just a nightmare. So I lost all those. I pulled this stuff in this bed way early. In fact, it was mustards and collards, and there was one fennel that's actually still in there, and I fed them all to the chickens. Some parsley growing, that's kind of cool, and some rosemary. Rosemary is also supposed to be a perennial, but I've never had it come back for me. And there's some sage in there. These are sage leaves, and that's rosemary, so I don't know where the sage came from. Interesting. So this has kind of been my garden this summer. It's sad. Like I said, I've got the parsley here, and I've got some chives right there, but they don't really amount to much. So the ducks are extremely chatty. We don't know, but I think we have 5 males and 1 female is all we got. I'm pretty sure that guy right there is a rooster, which I don't want any roosters. Does anybody want a rooster? Come get him. This has been quite the year. When it got really hot, they decided they weren't going to produce eggs. So I think I got 10 eggs in 2 weeks. And I have 15 hens currently that are producers, because hens don't start laying until about 7 months. Anyway, all the other guys, they're not old enough. They'll be old enough about December, when they don't lay, because it's the wrong time of year. But anyway, there's all the chickens. I finally got the area for my husband on the backside of my husband's outdoor kitchen all weeded so that he can get some wiring done. So go me for my birthday, my sister-in-law gave me a big elephant ear, and I'm going to name it Uma. If you've ever seen Descendants, you'll understand. Uma is the daughter of Ursula. My sister-in-law named her plant Ursula, so therefore I decided I was going to name mine Uma. Right now it is in a pot because I needed to get it in the ground, and I didn't know where to put it since we were kind of doing the remodeling on the house. It won't survive the winter there, so I'm going to have to get it in the ground before winter. But for now, it's hanging out in this pot that was full of flowers. They were all zinnias that went kaput because of the heat. These guys are not tulips, but I can't think of what they are. But they only last for just a short bit.
The flowers.
Flowers. And then these guys, they're kind of hit and miss. They actually have done better this year than they did last year. And that's actually saying something, because last year they barely survived. So they are perennials, and they made it. They survived in this pot last year. So anyway, my father-in-law always says, though, that elephant ears won't survive in a pot, and I don't want to lose that one. So we'll try and get it in the ground before. Here is the big pumpkin that planted itself. We do have some little pumpkins in here, and I guess I ran over one yesterday accidentally and squashed it, and I ran over some of the leaves. I know I did that. So he's doing really, really well right here. My lavender, again, not doing so hot in Little Miss Moo there. The zinnias are starting to put on more buds. Where did I find them? Right here's one. Oh, come on, phone. Right there is one. I don't know. They're starting to put on buds again. So it may go ahead and keep going. This was that plant that was over against my house that was flooded so bad that it was dying. And I did lose one of the plants that was in it. And those guys are just itty bitty. But that thing has like massively taken over. I lost 2 of my marigolds out of this planter. They were on that side over there. The ones over here, this one was probably not gonna make it. I probably should go ahead and pull it, and I'm not sure that one's gonna make it, but the other ones are doing pretty well. So it's kind of hit and miss. It's strange. My petunias are still doing very, very well, and this thing is doing interestingly well. It has some perennials and some annuals, and I got to figure out which ones are the perennials and go ahead and get them in the ground, later this fall, so that they'll hopefully come back next year. I do have the tags and pictures of the tags, but that guy is doing fairly well. Somehow I got weeds in this. I'm gonna go with the crazy weather that we've had, because on top of our 100-degree temperatures, we have actually had a lot. No, let me take that back. We are in a drought, but every so often we would get rain, to the point that on my birthday, a tree limb fell out of the tree that was struck by lightning 2 years ago and landed on top of my truck. Thankfully, we were in my husband's truck, or it would have done a lot of damage to his. My truck, it put a dent on my hood, and it bent one of the bars in my bed cover. And so far, that's all we have found. But anyway, and this planter has been doing amazing. These guys here kind of come and go. See, they're coming back, but when they go, they're gone, and then they come back. But that planter has been doing amazing, and I don't know if it's because you get some shade in the afternoon, even especially in that heat, or what its deal is. Over here, this planter is almost starting to look like that other planter did, to the point it makes me feel like I need to pull it off the house. But like I said, they said we got rain Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it caused flash flood warnings. We were getting all the notifications, even though we were 6 hours away. So this needs a haircut. Those are chives. I need to go ahead and dry some of them out. Along with basil, I need to do something with it. This is my thyme. Yeah, have you got the thyme? And then finally, the rosemary is not doing good because it's getting attacked by part of the dojo from the Kamado. And then this is parsley. So those are what we have herb-wise up on my patio. And in case you wondered, that's a basset hound who wants her belly rubbed. So I got all of this weed eated yesterday. This was looking like a jungle. This is basil that I need to come in and trim back and go ahead and dry so that we'll have some basil for winter. When they start doing that, they're trying to go to seed. Just pop the top off and you'll save the plant. It's fine. This one. And then when they go to seed, they say that it becomes bitter. So that's why you don't want it to. And then this is the strawberry mint. I haven't done anything with it. It's obviously gone to seed. And the thing about mint is mint takes over. So keep that in mind when you plant mint. My mother-in-law, let's just look at her flowers while we're over here. She has a bunch of portulacas right here. They were doing a lot better. They're not doing bad, but they were doing a lot better just a couple weeks ago. I think these are still doing amazing. I love that deep, dark, rich purple color. She had some zinnias that were doing really well. I think the heat is getting to them. And then she has some portulacas there. And those were her tomato plants that probably just needed to be pulled and sent to the chickens. So that is the garden tour for, I can't say the 1st of August because here we are the 16th of August. But that's kind of week, month, year, day, minute, hour, second I've been having. So anyway, I really just did this because I want the information come next year. Like I said, we have some plans that we're going to redo the garden with to try and make it easier and better. Fingers crossed it works. So if you like this video, please think about giving it a thumbs up, liking my channel, subscribing to my channel, and we'll see you next time. All right, see you later. Bye.